Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Andra and I am the artist behind Spirit Fine Art. Today I have for you a still life in mixed media inspired by some green hydrangea I had in a vase not too long ago. I wanted this painting to have lots and lots of layers and I wanted to play with paper. I have a lot of paper stashed away, a whole box full of it. It really makes for really cool textured backgrounds. So here I'm just playing around with the papers, trying to figure out how I'm going to place them, tearing them apart or tearing them up randomly. There is no set way of doing this. I'm just going with the flow, whatever feels good to me in the moment. I do, however, want to have a variety of textures, so I am selecting a variety of papers with different thicknesses and gluing them down with matte gel from TriArt. For this painting I'm using a canvas 11 by 14 inches and I haven't prepared it in any way. I'm just gluing down those papers because the painting is going to go right on top of them. I'm really making sure that those edges and corners really stick down. I guess you don't have to give that much more of a texture if they're sort of flopping around, but I really wanted everything to stick down properly. So that was for the background. And now I'm working on the flowers, the flower clusters of the hydrangea. And I'm using a napkin that I've pulled apart. I think it had 2 or 3 layers. 3 layers. And I pulled them apart and I'm using just the 1 layer. Scrunching it up and placing it on the canvas. I'm trying to figure out what will look the best. So I ran out of matte gel and I'm using clear gesso from TriArt to glue it, to glue the napkin down. Anything really that you use will be fine. I'm gonna have to gesso this anyways, so I'm just using the clear gesso as a glue right now. I let it dry completely and then I put on a layer of clear gesso on top. The gesso seals everything down and allows for the paint to adhere to the gesso so it doesn't interact with the layers underneath at all. I wanted to use clear gesso as opposed to white gesso because I wanted to use thin layers of paint to allow for the background to show, all those papers to show a bit. So now everything is dry, and I'm playing around with different kinds of colors, trying to get the background. I'm shooting for something grayed out, so I have some burnt umber and raw sienna there, and some gray. I think I'm gonna pull in some blue. And I'm also using pouring medium from Liquitex. The pouring medium technically is for thinning down your paint enough that you can pour it if that's what you want to do with your painting. But I'm using it to thin down the paint enough to create that glazing effect, a very thin layer. And as you can see, when I'm putting down that paint, it's so thin that the layers of paper underneath can be seen. And that's really what I wanted, to have some of that coming through. Oop, that was way too dark. And so I realized it was too dark, and I'm trying to lighten it up a bit. I don't want the background too dark. And that titanium white mixture there really brings up the textures in the background, the papers. So now I've left it to dry almost completely, and I went in with baby wipes to lift some of that paint, because I really wanted more of the background to, or rather the papers to show through. And I think I left it to dry too much because I was really working to get that paint off. It wasn't easy at all. Alright, so I got as much off as I could, and it's really starting to look much better. So I'm working now on the flowers. So I have 3 clusters, and I want to see the colors that I can use. I'm using a pastel pencil here to very loosely draw out where the clusters are going to be. And then because it's a green hydrangea, I'm really playing with different shades of green. And I'm starting off with this more olive kind of green. What I want to accomplish here with the flowers is depth. So within any cluster of the hydrangea, you're gonna have stuff in the background inside the cluster that is dark and you don't see very well. There's gonna be another layer on top that is a little bit lighter, and then another layer that is much lighter that's catching most of the light. And speaking of light, I have to be very cognizant of where my light source is, and for this painting I've sort of placed it in the upper left corner. This was an interesting project because a lot of it I was sort of just going with the moment. I didn't have a very clear idea of what I wanted. I just knew when I did it, because I was painting, do I actually like this? No, okay, let's try to do something different. So it really wasn't too much of a planned out painting. The actual flowers of the hydrangea in the clusters, I'm sort of placing them randomly and making sure that I switch the direction of my paintbrush so that it's not the same shape of the petal. Every single petal is not the same shape. So here I'm using a bright paintbrush, bright. And I've left the flowers as they are. I'm not quite happy with them They like a little something. But I wanted to go ahead and work on the vase, and you'll see me changing my mind through this, because I start off with this squarish vase made out of glass, and I'm trying to put in the stems of the hydrangea, and it's not working. And anyways, this will show to you that no matter how you start out, if you don't like it, there are ways to redirect, erase a little bit of what you've done, try something different. Acrylic is really good for that. Yep, didn't like it, erased it. With a baby wipe you can take it off, especially if the paint is not dry yet. It comes right off. So here I decided to use some oil pastels on the flowers, and I believe I'm using Mungio to put in some gold in there. And then I went and got some, what are those, new pastels, oil pastel, and these are really creamy. I fell in love with them from the first use. And so what I'm doing is I'm placing them where I think the light will catch on the flowers and the petals, and I just want to add that extra bit of depth, and it's really starting to show really well. Because of the texture of all that paper and in the flowers there, the pastel really catches just on top, and that's what I want, and it's really showing off the texture of that, of those flowers. I have to remind myself not to use them everywhere, because then the whole picture is just gonna look flat, right? So I wanted depth, so I want to be very careful where I use those pastels. This color here is more of an off-white color. And those are the brightest highlights on the flowers, and it actually sort of matches the paper that I have in the background that's showing in the left corner there. So, and that's something that is really important in any painting. In order for it to flow together quite well and not be jarring to the eye, when you use one color you should use it somewhere else as well. So in one spot and then somewhere else as well, to add that connection to the overall piece, So here I'm putting it in the background a little bit too. I want the hydrangeas to blend a little bit, not stick out quite as much. I think I was using it a little bit too much in the background, and then I went back and erased it with a baby wipe again. All pastels are really good to adjust that way. Yep, there I go. A little bit too much. Okay, so now I'm wanting to do something with the vase, and I'm using Gallery Mungio pastels there, oil. Those are actually a brand new set. I went out to buy some more pastels because I was wanting something. So the painting took a few days to finish, because in the meantime I kept going back and forth to the art store to get the supplies that I thought I needed. So the idea with these colors, why am I picking these colors, is yellows. I have yellow in that green, right? I brightened some of that green that olivey green that I had with some yellow, so it plays on the flowers. It brings everything together much more, and it's a brighter color. The background is quite cool, quite dark. The flowers are relatively cool as well. I wanted something warm to bring the whole piece together. The vase needs to have its own highlights and shadows, so I'm using a darker color as a shadow and a much lighter color as a highlight. It was really cool too, because for the shape of this vase, like this, if you remember when I started out with the square vase, that was quite a big vase. This one is much smaller, and it came out of the shape left by the papers in the background. It just had a natural line there, just that natural shape, so I went with it. So that's something, that's something to be said for letting the painting speak, listening to the painting where it wants to go instead of your own vision of it, because my vision was a glass vase and that didn't happen. And you really need patience. I was getting frustrated through this piece so many times, and I had to walk away from it a few times. But in the end, it's allowing yourself to listen to the painting, what it needs, what's the story that it wants to tell. So there you have it, you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.